Hello, everybody. My name is Lance Johnson. I want to welcome you to another episode of Amplify Your Business. On today's show, I have Karen Anderson from Alberta Food Tours joining us, and she's going to talk about her business, how she was not an entrepreneur and got into this crazy business of tourism and food and products now. And so welcome to the show, Karen. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what got you into this business.
Thanks very much for having me, Lance. It's a real privilege to be here. I was not always an entrepreneur. I was a nurse for 21 years, and I have a master's degree in adult health nursing, was a nurse practitioner, taught nurse practitioners, developed nurse practitioner programs.
Okay.
And I guess that really fed into my why I developed my business, because after so many years of trying to create healthy people, what I found is the further I got along in my training, the sicker the people I was seeing.
Oh, no.
And, you know, being a systems thinker and fairly analytical, I couldn't help but notice that most of those people were coming because of food-related illnesses, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, even joint problems, right?
So the inflammation of the body from the foods that they're eating?
Yeah, well, and so I thought, how can I affect people's food choices so that they don't end up here? And when I had my family, I decided that was a good time to pivot in my career. And I started volunteering for a group called Slow Food International.
Yep.
Have you heard of that?
Yes, definitely. The slow food movement is an unbelievable movement across the world. Originated out of Italy, I think, didn't it?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so in Calgary, we had a slow food convivium or chapter since 2002. And I joined in 2005, and I was on the board for 6 years. And so our goal was to promote local, to connect people with the source of their food, to give people heritage, keep heritage cooking skills alive. So I used to run 10 or 12 events a year for that organization. And the biggest one I ran was called Feast of Fields, and it was 250 guests, 100 volunteers, 20 chefs, 75 farmers. It was like running a huge wedding every summer, and even with a band. So I got to know a lot of farmers and a lot of chefs. And then I started writing about food. I wrote for City Palette magazine. I got a column with CBC Radio right away, and always talking about food issues and about promoting local. So the more I started gathering great stories and getting to know people, the more I saw clusters of great food businesses. I used to do bus tours for City Palette magazine, where I would take 45 people to 3 or 4 farms in a day. We called them foodie toodles. And they were transformative experiences for people.
Yes.
It would change the way they shopped, they ate. And I thought, okay, this is very powerful. How can I do more of this? So in 2006, I started very modestly. I would put an ad in the local free papers like City Palette magazine and just say, you know, walking tour of a neighborhood, food walking tour. And if 2 people would sign up, I would get 2 friends to come along as fake guests and make it look like it was bigger than it really was.
Yeah.
I started very modestly, and I think the first year I did maybe 12 tours. Now, it progressed.
And sorry, those tours, those were just walking tours with
walking tours of neighborhoods, or maybe I'd rent a van and we'd drive around the city. But okay, the why was always to improve the health of soil, food, and people.
Okay.
So working with farmers that had practices that created healthy soil.
Yep.
And if you don't have healthy soil, you're not going to have healthy food. Yep. And so what do I mean by that? It's organic, regenerative, biodynamic, those kinds of practices that feed the microorganisms in soil. You need microorganisms in soil to release nutrients into food and to take carbon from the atmosphere, turn it into liquid carbon, and sequester it as solid carbon. So I try to work with farmers and people to create food that's full of nutrition. I wrote a book in 2017, it came out in 2018, called Food Artisans of Alberta, and it features 200 food artisans that are regenerating the earth through solid farming practices. And eventually we may see those synthetic fertilizers and pesticides go away, because they really are poisoning the earth. They're causing runoff of water and floods. And so that was very serious, but that's my why. And then the fun part is.
So that was more about education than it sounds like, more than looking at it as a business opportunity. You were just had a passion for educating people and to try to have people connect the dots of their diet and their health back to basically the farm and the origin of where the food is coming from and how it's being farmed and produced and so on then, right?
Yeah, and we use great stories to connect people with reasons to change their behavior. And, you know, so one of my favorite things is that somebody say, why should I buy organic? You know, I'm like, oh, well, okay, let's talk about that. There's a lot of good reasons. All of our tours, the partners we choose have to support local farms, and they have to have great stories behind them, because then people connect the dots, right? And they support my why. Yeah. So fast forward, you know, 10 years in business, 2016, you know, I probably have about 10 guides that are trained and doing tours. We're offering about 5 tours around Calgary. And I've worked with tourism a lot by this point, helping them tell a different story about Alberta. So I also had attended a lot of writers' conferences and met writers from around the province. So I had contacts in Canmore and Edmonton that wanted me to expand. So we did an ATB crowdfunder that year. Oh, and raised $22,000 and expanded to Canmore and Edmonton, and because I had the guides and the connections and the local knowledge there. And then in 2018, we expanded to Banff. So we've been in 4 cities. So by 2019, and in 2019 was a big year. We had 19 team members. We had just received 2 designations for Canadian Signature Experiences from Destination Canada, which means that our experiences were deemed must-see, must-do activities for people visiting Canada to understand what it is to be Canadian and what Canada is all about. And there's really only 200 of those in the country. There's only 2 others in Calgary. Our Inglewood tour became one, and the only other 2 are Heritage Park and the Calgary Stampede.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah. So I did a lot of work to transform our business model, where we were offering a service, a tour, to the creation of experiences, food experiences.
Okay, and so the tours before did not come with the food experience where they're actually eating and enjoying some of that food.
They did. They always did. There's always been tastings and stories. Okay. The difference is you're following a guide around. The guide tells a story. The guide takes you here. The guide does that. Yeah. And crafting things more as an experience, it's like the guide is more on the side, and you're putting the people into the experience. So they are doing the things. They make the salad in the garden at Rouge. They frost their own cupcake in the back of the bakery at Crave.
I see.
They go into the kitchen at the Banff Springs Hotel and learn to make a profiterole. So it's from watching somebody to actually then doing something yourself. It takes things to a different level.
Yeah, and a better understanding too, right? Because when you immerse yourself into the activity of doing that, you're going to walk away with a better retention of the information that's being passed along as well, which is really part of that mandate, it sounds like, that you had right at the start, which was the education element and the real desire to see people pivot the way that they're consuming
Yeah.
foods, right? So I just want to back up a second. So to start with, then the tours were just guided tours. And I shouldn't say just, I mean, that's a
No.
deal in itself. And so you started in Calgary, expanded into Edmonton and Canmore, and then into Banff. And that expansion occurred over how many years did you say?
10, 12 years.
10 to 12 years. And so in the last, so in 2019, you're now are pivoting and changing that into experiences now. Is that when the pivot occurred, or did that happen
Yeah,
soon?
it's been gradual, but
Right.
that's where we got recognized for the fact that we did that and that we
Okay.
created some really special things. So that was nice. And yeah, and
So I just would like to, if we could, because the audience are a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs who are always asking questions and trying to figure out the monetization of their experiences, their services, their products, and so on. So in this case, you would have been selling then, access to those tours, those guided tours. And so then you had people located in each one of those centers, then that would be able to do those. You would have been the one curating what that experience or that tour was going to be. So you built the connections and the partnerships, and then you would hire somebody to be the guide, educate the guide on how you wanted that presented, right? Is that right? Then how did the marketing work there? So how did you get bums in the seat, so to speak, in terms of those tours? Was it just word of mouth, or was there something else that you were doing in order to market that and fill the seats?
Well, I think that our website is key, and then our brand presence on social media has been huge.
Yeah.
And so when you're selling a food experience, you've got this wonderful muse of food, which people love on social media. So we have, we have a lot to work with, right? Because we use social media heavily, and then we're getting better at leveraging what Google can do for us.
Okay.
And I also work a lot with industry partners, with Travel Alberta, Tourism Calgary, Edmonton Tourism, Banff Lake Louise Tourism, Tourism Canmore, Kananaskis. So I'm a member of all those organizations. And then by being so, we really work that partnership to always be present for them when they need things. Okay. And so in turn, we get a lot of exposure to media trips, to industry sponsored trips where they're bringing buyers in from around the world. And they also promote us when they travel around the world because we have a premier product, which really tells a great Alberta story. And beyond just our natural beauty, there's actually substance here, things to do. It's like you can promise the world as Travel Alberta, but when people get here, they actually need things to do.
Yes.
So, so those are key marketing strategies, always thinking about the social media, but also those industry partnerships.
Yeah, and I think what you said with regard to food being such a Instagrammable thing, right? That a lot of people, it's just a natural thing that occupies a lot of people's Instagram feeds and so on, where people are taking photos of their food and that, and then also sharing their experiences. And so just out of happenstance, it sort of sounds like you found yourself in an industry that's extremely marketable from a social media organic perspective. And so I just wanted to highlight that for our audience, because for those who are thinking in terms of, new products or new services or new business ideas that they are thinking about potentially developing and pivoting into, that's something that strategically, it sounds like that wasn't something that you strategically, thought of and went, okay, well, this is going to be great on social media, so I'm going to start a business around this. It just happened that way. But a lot of people, as they're doing those brainstorming, as they're trying to get into a new business or entrepreneurship, that's something to think about, because it is much easier to get that tribe following you on social media and get the benefit of that organic reach that you can get from people sharing and liking your posts, if you have something that is sort of the product of those platforms. And so just some food for thought there for entrepreneurs that are out there. Now, when you were doing all the organic stuff you're doing and building the partnerships and reaching out to all these people, the chefs and the hotels and the farmers and so on, I'd imagine there was some collaborative, cross-posting and different things that were happening. Did you ever do any advertising spends in those platforms, or were you able to basically grow that business organically without having to really do much in the way of ad spend?
I think great reviews have been our friend.
Yeah.
So I think that, a lot of the time we're number one on TripAdvisor for food and drink. So that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's huge, right?
And I think, that initial word of mouth and delivering on your promise, that has just carried us forth for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And even our email marketing list through MailChimp, it's not that the numbers are huge, but they're genuine. It's a genuine community that really cares, and our opening rate is very high.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I think too, if you're going to invest in assets for social media platforms, I don't, we occasionally boost posts, and we do that very strategically because we don't have a big budget.
Yep.
But I'd rather spend the money on beautiful photography as I'm able, because people are, they don't want to look at food that looks like a dog's breakfast, right? So we are, over the last few years, we've been able to secure, I apply for a lot of grants every time I find one.
Yeah.
I apply. So we've been able to secure some marketing dollars to put towards photography, and that's where I put it.
Yeah.
So, I think that that's more where we put our money than actual ad buys.
Yeah.
And then, so 2020, I don't know if you want to get to this now, but obviously we couldn't do food tours. We shut down.
Yeah, things have changed.
For a very long time, I have wanted to become even more user focused, and I wanted to create an app where people didn't have to fit into my schedule, our schedule as a company, that they could do a food tour when they wanted to do one.
So self-guided then? Is that the idea?
Self-guided on an app. So this year, we waited, we closed in March, and we waited a little bit, and we're like, no, this isn't opening up anytime soon. So we were able to apply for another grant, and we were successful. And so we built a new product called the Alberta Food Finder. Okay. And I love it because you become the hero of the game. It's a game that you play. It's a self-guided food tour that we turned into a game that you play on your mobile, GPS-enabled mobile device. And so we're launched it here in Calgary and Kensington. And it's clues that you have to solve, activities you have to do. And it takes you around, there's 29 clues. You visit a few dozen businesses where you can get deals, promos, discounts, free samples. I think there's only 4 free samples, but it's fun, and you can do it when you want to do it. And so the other thing that I love about it is that it is so scalable. So now we're already working on the Canmore version. We'll work on the Banff and Edmonton version over the winter. We've never had this much time to be able to concentrate and focus on this product development. It's been on my bucket list for many years, but COVID has given us that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is very scalable. People, and it's so much more, the person takes that device and they are the center of it all. They become the hero. They become the Alberta food finder.
Okay, excellent. So then somebody downloads it. Is it iOS and Android then, or?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So they download the app and then they can go on this adventure, scavenger hunt, almost amazing race like adventure, it sounds like. So gamification combined with just the people's desire to go out and explore, and then also desire to have great food experiences and so on. Really a collision of a lot of different things. So I love this concept.
So carrying on with our relationships and partnerships, but now instead of 5 partners in Kensington, we have 24, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun over the next few years, building that and scaling it up as much as possible. And I can see it being half-day road trips, full-day road trips around the province, giving people a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing then, we were able to launch that by October. And then of course, it's not ideal because the weather and more restrictions.
Yeah.
And so I was at a meeting at a business club that I belong to. And one of the members was talking about visiting a youth mental health program, volunteering there, and how much the need has gone up this year because of the stress on everyone, but especially youth.
Okay.
And I thought, well, what can I do about that? And a lot of my colleagues around the world have switched to offering something called a food tour in a box, where they would take a neighborhood like Kensington and partner with those people and take a meal out, deliver it. And I thought, I really don't want to get into food delivery. But I got thinking about when I was young and in college, during exam period, the Nova Scotia Mental Health Association had a fruit basket delivery, a care package. And my grandmother always sent that to me. Something as simple as a fruit basket really made you feel loved, right?
Yeah.
So I got thinking, I send care packages to my son in Ottawa all the time. And I thought, what Albertans might really respond to is the opportunity to show someone they care, but also care for someone they don't know. So we came up with something that we call the Alberta Cares package.
Okay.
And at first I put together 50 boxes, product for 50 boxes, but we chose 6 local businesses with dried goods that we could pack in the box. And we chose 2 youth mental health charities, one in Calgary called Impact Society, one in Edmonton called Tip Top Bakery. Impact Society works to build on signature strengths in youth. And Tip Top takes 15 to 24-year-olds and gives them skills. They might be doing community service. They might be having a hard time fitting in the mainstream, but they come out of that bakery program with skills.
Okay.
So we started that, November 8th was our first date you could buy one.
Okay.
And now we've sold 250 boxes.
That's excellent. And just to give everybody some context, this is being recorded on December 2nd. And so with less than a month, it's been 250 boxes. And so then how are they being delivered then? Because you're not in the
Oh,
delivery
yes,
business, right?
that's
Yeah.
yes. I'm now learning about inventory management. And Canada, I have a Canada Post account, and Canada Post comes to my door and picks them up, or we have a pickup if you live in Calgary. But so
Okay.
just thinking through a new business model, it's been really fun.
Yeah.
And because it's close to Christmas, we're not, next week is like the last date that we'll send out, and then the others are all pickups. But what came from that is now, we were able to raise $1,500 for those charities, make some profit ourselves, support 6 local businesses. So
Yeah.
I've already come up with a care package that will be for Heart Month. And guess what will be in it? Chocolate. But not just any chocolate, right? Again, it's leveraging, who do you know in Alberta? Well, I know a dozen very fine Alberta food artisan chocolate makers, right?
Yep.
So we'll put things together in one box that you would never take the time to collect yourself, right? You would never go around and solicit and do business with 12 people. So we're going to, there's a new women's health initiative in Calgary that needs some help. There's a chef friend of ours that only exists in Edmonton because he has a ventricular assist device. He's waiting for a heart transplant. So we're going to raise money for those programs with that heart box. So I love that synergy of again, supporting local charities, and a new product line that does a lot of good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And again, chocolate's a bit different, but a lot of those companies do a lot of good too. It might not be Alberta, but they all work with ethical, organic sources of chocolate. So yeah,
all aligned with your overall why, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really great. Now, I would love to hear a little bit more about the monetization of some of this stuff. So when it comes to the app, how is it that you're monetizing that? Then are you selling it
Yes,
in the
we
app
are.
store?
It's not free.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's $45.
Okay.
We found a platform that we found an app company with a platform that we could customize.
Yep.
So I pay them a license.
Yep.
And then we charge people, up to 4 people can play on one device for 2 to 6 hours of entertainment for $45. We think that's really fair.
Yeah.
And people are buying it.
Yeah.
And, even considering it's COVID and it's December now, people are buying it. People can gift it. People are willing to pay for it because it's family friendly and they can be COVID safe while they're doing it. And the stores that we chose are all very good with their protocols.
Yep.
So again, I'm very keen to keep it at an affordable rate, and scale it up. And it is it's an entertainment factor.
Yeah. So if I were to purchase it for $45, as you add in more of these cities into the app, then do I get access to all of those, or do I have to pay again then to get access to the new?
Yes, that's right.
games?
You will pay again.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's key because, right now we're marketing to Albertans, but over time it will become, our audience is usually 50% global. Mm-hmm. And so, each place will have their own fun thing for people to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just so I'm clear on it, if I were to buy it and I use it, so I do my tour, my game, and I travel around the city and do that adventure, I could do that again at some other point in the future, or is it kind of like a one-time use?
It's one-time use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, that's really interesting. That's a fascinating way of approaching that whole app model, because you don't typically see something like that where it's a single use app. So yeah, it's a $45 experience, and
It just happens to be on an app.
yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, really interesting. And so is that something that you are, from a marketing standpoint, are you just leveraging the existing, follower base, the tribe that you already have, or are you doing something different in the marketing of the app versus what you were doing with the physical tours and guided tours that were happening?
Well, I joined so the first one is in Kensington. So I
Yeah.
did take advantage of a group cooperative marketing and to place an ad in a local magazine, um, and joined in with a lot of the partners, to put our ad in there since we've become part of that community and are promoting it so much.
Yep.
And we are, we sat down and did a 6-month digital marketing strategy campaign, and delved into Google a little more, and leveraging posts and AdWords, and so stretched ourselves a bit that way. It's probably very basic to you, but
No, that's really good. And it's important for people to be able to hear some of that as well, right? Because these are things that, you're learning as you're going along, which could potentially help somebody else who's listening today
Mhm.
get a little bit of a leg up in their journey, I guess, or advance
Mhm.
their journey a little faster. So when you say that you're leveraging Google a little bit more, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I guess I've really started to take care of my Google account.
Okay.
Uh,
And
and
by Google account, are you referencing Google My Business? Is that
yes,
what you're referencing? Yeah.
yes.
And so for those who are watching who aren't familiar, Google has, like when you search for a business and it pops up in your search and you see that little map over on the right hand side of the search results that has, a link to the website, it has the hours, it has the directions, it has a bunch of different information, recent posts and so on that are there, and the reviews. That is Google My Business. And so that's a Google listing, essentially a profile. So think of it the same thing as, a Yelp listing or a TripAdvisor listing or something like that, but it's Google's. And so they have created a bunch more robust tools within that over the last few years,
Yeah.
so that people can leverage that a little bit more to basically be a quick reference card, essentially, within search, that people can get to all the right information they need to when they're trying to find your business or something like your business, I guess.
Mhm.
So can it continue on? Sorry, Karen, I just wanted to make sure that those who were listening understood exactly what we were talking about there.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and Google is good about reminding you as a business owner when a post is about to expire. So those come to me, and then I use that and create another post or event or product. There's different categories that you can create, but I think that that's really effective. And, I've never really gotten into hiring an SEO expert. I think that having had a website for 15 years and keeping it, a lot of our Google ranking is organic.
Yep.
And well, it is all is really, but it's taken time to get there, right?
Yep.
But when I made a big mistake because we had 4 locations, I had thought I needed 4 different Google listings.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to people, don't do that. Instead, I've now consolidated it all back in one, and then underneath you can put locations.
Yep.
So I diluted my own Google weight by doing that. It was a real learning exercise, but now I'm feeling much stronger
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And
that
I think that
everything's
that's a
consolidated back.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson learned to pass along for sure. And so, again, just to emphasize, what happened there is by creating different Google listings for each of the locations or the cities that Karen was in, what happens is that it splits up then your reviews. So your reviews are going to the individual ones instead of consolidate them all together. So you'll have fewer reviews on each one of them than what you would have in that consolidated one. And so that can be quite dangerous in the sense where if you did end up having a poor review and you have fewer good, overall reviews, it can have a significant impact on your overall rating, where that outlier bad review that you might get from a disgruntled customer when everything's consolidated doesn't really impact much then of that overall rating. So that's one thing that's really important. And then number two is just from a Google searching standpoint, you're kind of competing against your own listings as opposed to being able to have the broader, more consolidated reach. And it also creates a lot more headache in terms of managing it, which is another big one there. So definitely one listing, set your locations, and it's really important to put your locations in because that's a signal for Google in local search results. And so Google's really about trying to get the most relevant information into the searcher's hands as possible. And so there's a lot of emphasis they place on local searches. And so if you don't have your other locations tagged within there, then you will lose that local signal. So for instance, if somebody's in the Canmore area and are looking for food experiences, they are less likely to see it because it's not listed as being a Canmore location. So make sure you do that. So that's really important there. And then obviously you'll have one place now too where you can send all your past customers, existing customers to give you a rating, to give you a review, which are huge signals, which will just really elevate your listing to the top of the competition. So it really helps from an SEO standpoint. So do a really great job of that, and that's going to help you get to the top of the search results. Now, one thing, Karen, that you did mention, and I just wanted to come back to this, is you said, well, I've never really hired an SEO company to help me out, or an SEO expert. You, in what you've been doing so many things really correctly. And so you're kind of the SEO expert that you didn't even realize that you developed those skills, or that you just naturally had a knack for it. Because one of the things that a lot of people get or forget, or they don't understand, is that, again, Google is in the business of trying to deliver a relevant result to somebody's search. And so if you're gamifying that, and it used to be years ago, you could do these different things that would basically allow you to get ranked higher than somebody else by doing some trickery in a sense. Google's gotten way smarter with that. And so at the end of the day, what matters is content. If you're delivering really good content that's relevant to the searches that people are making in Google, and Google's going to watch that, and they're going to see that people are engaging with that content, spending more time on your website than some other website when they search for a term and went to yours. And so those signals just naturally will elevate your SEO. There's a lot of other things too, but just in general, in the simplest form of SEO, it's about doing really good content. If you focus on the content, and that's what you said with regard to the images. So you focus on photography, investing in photography, as opposed to buying ads sometimes. And so, as a company where we manage, ad spends for clients and so on, it's really easy for us to say, okay, well, we can get you X number of traffic and so on based off of putting these ads out there. But you're going to have to pay every month for that. As soon as you turn off the ads, the traffic stops. But with SEO, with great content, investing in it, in those great photos, which are getting engagement over on social media, on Instagram and so on, which is going to drive traffic back to your website, those signals are huge for Google. And so you are doing some amazing things, Karen, and just keep it up, and congratulations on what you have been able to do so far without having that information or that background expertise. It's a common sense approach you're taking, which is really good.
That's what my father always said to us growing up. If we did something a little wacky, he'd say, "Where's your common sense?"
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that if I can do it, anybody can do it. And, it is keeping the best technology. We switched our website company and our ticketing platform this summer as well.
Yeah.
Just because we'd never had such a lull in sales, it was the perfect time to do it. But we found a company with the best practices, and I'm really pleased with the results and our ability to manipulate and change our website as we need to as well.
Yeah, which is key. Again, a great signal for Google is if you are updating your website, then it means that it's more relevant current information, which they see as a signal as being most likely a little bit more valuable than something that's stale. And so having a platform that you can actually get in there and do some updates, you can do some editing to those pages, that is a great signal from an SEO standpoint. Again, you maybe didn't realize that. You were just thinking just from the user experience and from getting the right content in front of people, that's important. Well, Google also thinks that's important, and so it elevates your SEO. Yeah. So again, common sense.
Too, it's about relationships and having a good why and a solid community, and then that base expands. So, I love what we do with Alberta Food Tours. I hope that we're back we have the most charming guides in the world. So when you do go on a tour with a guide, it is a lovely experience, and they're so dedicated and passionate about Alberta and our food scene. We have just a joy showcasing the signature foods of Alberta and the great food artisans. And now we've just found more ways to do that. So, I know COVID's been tough on a lot of people, but it's also, for me as a business person, it's created my greatest opportunities that I've seen in many years. So capitalizing on that, and I see that it really, instead of a business based on one leg, we've now got a triangle of a solid, triangles are a much more solid base to build from. So I think that you'll see us around for many more years.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I love what you just said about the relationships, and that was one common thread that I was thinking of as you were talking through it, is you are a relationship queen. I mean, it's unbelievable, the building of those relationships with the farmers, with the people who are part of your tribe who are following you, with Alberta tourism and the different communities and so on, the stores. Like, it's just, you're doing a phenomenal job of relationship building, and that really pays off. And so it takes a lot of time to cultivate that, but good on you for spending the time doing that. Great job on the SEO. Great job on the diversification. You're doing some wonderful things. So I have no doubt that, you guys will be around for a long time to come. So if people are wanting to check out some of these, one of these three legs that like you said, that you guys are standing on now, how would they reach out to you? What's the best way to get a hold of you or to discover some of this stuff?
Well, albertafoodtours.ca.
Okay.
And we have a very, very active Instagram account at Alberta Food Tours. Facebook is Alberta Food Tours Inc. And Twitter we're a little less active on because the foodies are on Instagram.
Yeah, it's all about the
TikTok,
food.
We may get into TikTok because we do want to aim our game at the 20-something market, and I think we're on TikTok. So that'll be our next fun thing we're going to try.
Excellent. Well, we'll be having some episodes about TikTok and how to leverage that a little bit better here in some future episodes. So hopefully you stay tuned to some of that other stuff that we're putting out. And for everybody else who was interested in this episode, want to check out some other ones, if you're interested in learning about some of the stories of other entrepreneurs and receiving some free advice on how to do some marketing and do it yourself, then check out our archive of episodes over at amplemedia.com/amplify. That will take you to our archive, and there will be lots of episodes there, both past as well as our future ones will be posted there as well. So thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate you taking the time today. Good luck with everything else and have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you. You too. It was a real privilege.
Okay, everybody, stay safe and we'll talk to you in the next episode.